See what I did there? I just broke your pattern, and I want to check in real quick. If you just saw that, and if you could hear me, just let me know. Give me a quick thumbs up. I am reporting outside of my house, and the Wi-Fi is not the best, but I want to talk about a subject, something that I struggle with, and I used to have a big problem with it, and that is the subject of overthinking. And I want to get some dialogue in regards to this, and I want to hear what you do when you start overthinking. So first and foremost, give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Secondly, let me know where you are watching this from. Where are you at? Where are you watching this from? Age, sex, location, that's optional. I'm a male in New York, and I'm excited. So let's check in real quick. And you're watching this video because you overthink, because you get hyper focused when there's something a subject that aligns with you. Jerome says, "What are you smoking?" It is a vape, pure vapor. It's actually good for your lungs, or that's what I tell myself. Elisa says, Delaware, Farah from the UK. My man Lou Astry in the house from Toronto. I had a great conversation with him yesterday. He's got some awesome stuff planned for us. Check his stuff out. Brandy from Tampa, Florida. Where you at? Where are you watching from? And the second question I have is, how do you deal with overthinking? And this is something that I study a lot on. In fact, many of you may not know, but I have a master's degree in psychology. And I used to have a lot of issues with overthinking. And I still do. It never goes away. We have about 80,000 thoughts per day. And 90% of those thoughts are repetitive thoughts, the same thoughts we had yesterday, the same thoughts we'll have tomorrow. And oftentimes we have different neurotransmitters in our body that could create more anxiety, thus overthinking more. And I've adopted a lot of strategies in my daily routine to reduce my thinking process, because they say if you could lower your thinking by even 10%, you'll be significantly happier. And of course, when we deal with a tragedy or there's a future fear that comes up, essentially you are creating more overthinking, right? So I read a great quote the other day that overthinking is essentially creating a conspiracy theory against yourself, right? Because you're going to be like nervous about something, you create all these damn stories. 99% of those stories are not true at all. Lana Sargent, my dear friend hailing from Florida, she's also a speaker on my Supercoach seminar 1 month from now, 1 month from today. She'll be on that stage tearing it up. If you're in New York, I would love to have you at the seminar. Her strategy is to recognize what you're doing and get into the habit of catching yourself when you do it and replacing it by action or good thoughts. Absolutely going with the same line. Action alleviates anxiety. Woo! So true, Lana. Thank you for checking that in. She's also a best-selling author of the book Partied Out, which I got a shout out on the book, and I read the book. Phenomenal, phenomenal read. Claudia Seffin, she says, it creates obstacles for yourself. Absolutely. Overthinking is what kills you. And I think that if you have more strategies on reducing the thinking process, you'll be so much happier and you'll be more present, right? I literally have this on my wrist. It says, maximize this moment right now as we are connected, as you're hearing the words coming out of my mouth. You're in the present moment. Life is now. This is it. And the more you live in the present moment, you live in reality. And the more in reality, the less you're in this crazy monkey mind, creating stories, thinking about future events that may or may not happen, thinking about the past. That is bullshit. So when you're present to the moment, you're reducing the crazy thinking mind. Lou Asher says, I can tell problems drawn out on paper. They're easy to break down and solve. Create a checklist. Absolutely. That's super phenomenal as well. One thing I talk about often is journaling. I've been keeping a journal for 12 years. I actually had a near-death experience in 2006. That point, everything changed for me, and I started to document my life because I wasn't promised another day. But in my journal, if I'm stressed out about something, I will write it out. I'll write out my worst, craziest fears. And a lot of times seeing it on paper, you're like, that is nuts. Why am I even thinking this? It's ridiculous. Also talking to a close friend, confiding in someone, venting. When you let that poison come out of your mind, you verbalize it and you realize how ridiculous it is. It's those irrational thoughts. So I would love to know, what are some things you do when you're overthinking, right? You have an anxiety attack, something bad happens, you're in a fearful place. Maybe you deal with a heartbreak, right? You're just thinking about, oh my God, being single, or why did they break up with me? You go into a tornado of thoughts. Friend of mine recently lost his job, was in a place where he was in a career for 20 years, and out of nowhere they canned him. So now he's in a place where he is overthinking in terms of, what do I do? Stressing out, how can I pay my bills? All that stuff. So when you're in a state of overthinking, what are some things you do to ground yourself, bring yourself back to earth? I would love to know. Merrick says, words are powerful, 100%. 666 is the mind. Yes, I would love to know what that means, that 666 is the mind. I'm assuming you mean the devil is in the mind. Absolutely. So Alicia says, I try to reset by focusing on my blessings and get away from stinking thinking. Yes, yes, yes. Gratitude is the fastest path to happiness, because obviously you're in a place where you are overthinking typically all the worst things. But when you're grateful for what you have, you're in a state of abundance and appreciation. It's like, very calming. Let me take these off. So there was this great book called Power versus Force. And it's a book that I read many years ago. I still go back to it, but it has this great scale of consciousness from 0 to 1,000. The higher the consciousness, the higher the vibration. The easier it is and the happier you are, the more resourceful you are. So in a place of gratitude, love, compassion, those are very high vibrational states. Fear, anxiety, depression, they're very low vibrational states. So I think the greatest thing you could do is constantly reframe your thoughts throughout the day. If you're in a place where you catch yourself getting anxious or overthinking, there's got to be some ways to reframe your thinking process so you don't get away like a freight train of anxiety. So a great thing that Claudia talks about is in sales, right? If you're doing a sales presentation on a sales call, you could totally get in your head and be like, oh my God, is this guy going to buy? Do I have to talk about the price? All this fear comes up, and that really screws up the sales process. And a lot of it's just getting present, because I find one thing that helps me in a sales presentation when I'm doing public speaking is to get out of my head and into my heart and focus on serving and connecting. So this weekend, this Saturday, I have a female entrepreneur seminar teaming up with Stephanie Bellinger, Pat Pilla, and we're doing a seminar at my house. This is something I do. Actually, it's the fourth one that I've done at my house, and it's 40 female entrepreneurs come in to network, to learn, to connect. And, I'm in a setting where I'm speaking to all these women in my living room. They're all staring at me. I'm up in front. And if I get into my head and I get to overthinking, I'm going to be terrible. I'm going to give a horrible experience. However, what I do is I focus on them. I focus on serving. So when I'm public speaking, even when I'm doing live, I try not to think. I get present and I give myself to you. Right now, I'm not thinking. I'm just present to the moment. Whatever comes out, I'm leading with my heart. Like my man Ken Ko says, in your head, you're dead. Head to the beach or nature, get clear. That's a beautiful way to clear the mind, connect with the heart. And this is a great thing too. One of the reasons why I'm going on Facebook Live is because it allows me to create presence. I'm connecting with you. We're here together. I can't screw around. I can't have this manipulative mind telling me what to do. I'm just flowing. I'm just going with whatever comes out of my heart, connecting with you. And that's why I urge you, at least once a week, do a Facebook Live. This is one of my things. Right now I'm about to go to the gym, have a great leg workout ahead of me. But I go live, I connect, and I increase my endorphins, right? It's somewhat selfless. I'm adding value, I'm giving, I'm sharing, but it's selfish because I get a lot out of this process as well, connecting with you. And I'm not the smartest person. I'm always looking for insights. So you could tell me something I could do for my overthinking, and it'll improve my life, and I learn from you as well. So I know I don't know everything, so that's why I love asking questions. And the question right now is, what do you do to stop overthinking, to reduce your thought process? Lou says, a house is full of estrogen. Yes. When I do these female seminars, sometimes it's like 40 women in my living room, and I'm the only dude, and a lot of feminine energy. And the cool thing is that I strive off of feminine energy. In my household, I'm the oldest of 4 boys. So 4 sons, all this men, this masculine energy. It's great to have the female energy because it really grounds you. It gives you creativity. And the women are so loving. They love the bond. They're so supportive. And every time I do these female entrepreneur seminars, it's not just about the business, but the networking, the connections, the vulnerability, because most women find that there's fellow women who have similar struggles and similar fears. And I think when you're in a seminar setting, it's very immersive. When you're in a place where you're around people, you're in the moment. And that's why I use all the people to ground me, right? So if you're not around people, use Facebook Live. Just hit the live button and have a conversation. Just go back and forth, start a dialogue. It's a lot of fun. But at the same time, you're getting out of your head and into your heart. My man, Paul Mooney, I was just talking to him last night. He is the car specialist. He's going to get me a Lamborghini. So he says, what you think you become, what you feel you attract, and what you imagine you create. Very beautiful, very poetic. Thank you for that input, Paul Maloney. Lou says, each one to teach one. Absolutely. Teaching is one of the best ways to get out of your head and into your heart. And that's the question of today. Where are you at? Where are you watching this from? Just checking in real quick. And if you're watching the replay, type in replay. If you're watching this live, the question I have for you is this. When you get caught up in a moment of anxiety, your mind is going 100 miles an hour, you can't think straight, your heart's fluttering, you're overthinking, what do you do to ground yourself? What's a good grounding process? Something that helps me is like just being in my breath, breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth. A few deep breaths grounds you, okay? Gets you into the present moment. And I say certain things to myself, like if I'm having anxiety about a future event, I say, is it happening now? Is it happening now? No, it's not happening now. This is it. This is my life. This is the present moment. And one thing I'm discovering more in practicing presence is that you could get into this amazing place of presence where you have no thought. Maybe you could linger there for a few seconds, but the more you stay in that super deep, concentrated presence, it is so powerful. People could feel it. Right now, I am super present to the moment. I'm not thinking. I'm connecting deeply with you. It's so therapeutic. It feels so good. Try it on. Do you feel it? Do you feel this incredible presence? It's a great connection. My man, Mikhail, says, God bless you. God bless you too. Tessa meditates 5 minutes and everything back into focus. Absolutely. I meditate every day. Try to get 20 minutes in. And it was very, very difficult because when I first started meditating, I was overthinking. But what I found is listening to binaural beats on YouTube. If you go to alpha brainwaves, there's this one called Deep Sleep. It's like a delta brainwave, but there's some of them like 20, 30 million views because like me and collectively people all around the world, we listen to these binaural beats and just focus on our breathing. Every single morning I have a routine, and I wrote about this in my book, The Mind-Body Solution. I count to 100 each breath. In through the nose, out through the mouth. 1, 2. So it is very difficult to get to 100 because your mind wants to distract you, right? Your ego is so powerful. It's like, wait a minute. I don't want to be in the present moment. Here, think about this problem. You got to focus on fixing this because the mind does not want you to be present. It's like the present moment is the mind's enemy. So it tends to overthink. So when you have these practices, you trick the mind because it's almost impossible to shut off thinking. If you shut off thinking, you'd be dead. But while you have these 80,000 thoughts a day, one, you can reframe them to be more positive. And number two, you can practice presence throughout the day. Okay? So I'm actually going to try something new, right? So if you want to share some insights on overthinking, I'll let you go live. We'll do a split screen. Make sure you're wearing some clothes, got your makeup on, hair done, shaved. But if you want to share, I would love to get insights. Who is brave enough to contribute to this amazing Facebook Live about overthinking? So if you go live, you just type in request. I let you go live, and then you share. As long as you contribute, add value, it'll be a win-win-win-win. So that's a question. Where are you from? Where are you watching this from right now? What are some things you do to stop overthinking? And number three, what are you most excited about right now? Thinking about your life. What are you most excited about? What comes to mind? Claudia says, I just got out the hot tub. Hey, that's cool. Put on a towel and transmit. Let's do it. Ken, tap you in. My man Ken Cole from Australia. Let's see if we could do this. Trying to. Okay. Requested you. Claudia, put on a towel and we'll get you on as well. But my man Ken Cole, he is from Australia. He's actually a former student of mine who built a successful online business. Now he's killing it. Ken, you there?
Yo, what's up, man?
Yep. What's going on? Thank you for being on here. I know it's pretty late there, right? It's in the evening.
It's 11:30 in the evening. So yeah, nothing late.
Well, thank you. It's 9 a.m.
Yeah,
here in New York. So you have a lot of
very
wisdom.
cool.
Obviously, you're a world-class coach, and you've helped a lot of people. So, like when your clients are coming to you and they're like, "Man, I'm just having so much anxiety and overthinking," what are some ways you help ground them?
Yeah, I think it's a lot to do with people. They're very either focused immensely on the past or a lot on the future. They're very stuck, and they're not taking into consideration that in the present moment, like you just said before, nothing's happening to them right now. In the present moment, they're perfectly fine. Nobody's coming after them, nobody's attacking them, nobody's yelling at them. They're perfectly fine the way that they are.
Why do you think it's so difficult to stay in the present moment?
I think it's because everybody either lives 100% in the past or 100% in the future. And that's how society lives. They're very much focused all the time about things that happened to them 10 years, 20 years ago, or things that haven't even happened to them that are 10 years in the future that they're worried about, that they have no control over.
Yeah, that's such a good point. That's such a good point. And I think one thing I want to discuss is entrepreneurial anxiety, because you're a fellow business owner. You went from being this personal trainer to growing an online empire. And I think one thing that we deal with is like our business. I made a post about this, just about I just celebrated my 11 years of being an entrepreneur, and there's so many ups and downs, right? So like, what are some things you do when you're having a bad month of business? Maybe you look at your bank account and the income's not what you expected it to be. And you can get into this whole story. I'm going backwards. I'm going to lose my business. I'm going to lose it all and be homeless. How do you deal with those fearful, overthinking thoughts of failure?
Yeah, I think it's a lot to do with that. People, they focus a lot of business owners focus a lot of anxiety. They future pace anxiety. What's going to happen in the next 2 weeks, in the next 3 weeks? Can I pay my bills? Can I pay for petrol, food? Am I going to completely explode my business within the next 3 months? That's how a lot of people think. And I think there's a lot of confidence in measuring backwards.
Yes.
So Yeah. So if people are feeling like they're lacking confidence, all they have to do is go, okay, well, today I have a lot of anxiety, but what happened that has gone past in the last 3 weeks or the last 12 weeks? And if people measure backwards, that'll give them confidence going forward.
That is such a great point, and I appreciate you sharing that. It comes down to gratitude, right? Gratitude is one of the fastest ways to find happiness, but also at the same time realize what you have. Because, as a business owner, you're always looking at the future. So we have these expectations, right? So I want to be a 6-figure entrepreneur. I want to be a 7-figure entrepreneur. I want to be an 8-figure
Mm,
entrepreneur. And every time I'm growing, I'm always looking at the future. And then I have an expectation of why am I not there yet? I think the common overthinking process is for all this work that I'm doing, why am I not farther along? Why am I
exactly.
not
Yeah.
making as much money? Why is my following not big? Self-comparison is a thief of joy because this other
Mm,
person, they're talking about, hey, I just had my first $100,000 month. Hey, I just did my seminar and 500 people came to see me. I just got 1 million followers. I just had a massive launch. So it is that like common feeling that for all this work I'm doing, I should be a lot farther along.
yeah. You can only get confidence by measuring backwards. So if you're lacking confidence, have a look what you've done for the last month, and then that will give you a very clear future projection of what's going to happen in the future.
That's a great point. That's always measuring backwards, right? Because you never know the future. And like I said, sometimes you look at, okay, well, I was working for someone before. I didn't have this freedom, or I had a $5,000 month, before I used to make $1,000. It's like looking at like the past, looking at the things of gratitude. And sometimes it's not just about the money, it's about the growth and the wisdom, because we could always
Mm,
look at our bank account and find our identity there. But I think one thing I'm learning going into my 12th year of business is I'm no longer getting my identity from my business, But yeah, sure, I'm an
mm,
entrepreneur, I have a business, but if I just think of myself as only an entrepreneur, if I have a bad month of business, or if I have a failed launch or a seminar, this week I put out a launch and it failed miserably. So I could suffer and say that I suck, but I don't suck. I'm only a part, that's a part of my identity. If I'm a male, I have certain expectations of a male. A fitness person, certain expectations of how I have to look, and it's all bullshit because you cannot get your happiness from your identity.
exactly. I mean, business. It's a big part, but it's not the only part, and it's important. But at the end of the day, it's not that important. It's a contradiction.
Yeah, that's a great point. When someone's on their
Yeah.
deathbed and they have moments to live, they're not going to think about, damn, this is how much money I have in my bank account or the houses or the cars. You know what I mean? They're not thinking about, oh, I should have put more time in the office. Or they're thinking about their loved ones, because I'm talking from experience. 2006, I had a near death experience. I was in a coma for 5 days. And I had that thought that I'm going to die. And the only thing I thought about was my loved ones, my family, my friends. Nothing even came into my mind. And I realized
Mm.
when I'm happy and healthy, I think about the shit that's not even that important.
Yeah, like I was thinking about a conversation that I had today with someone about they're talking about money problems and like we have in Australia we've got like a grand final like a Super Bowl event coming next weekend and they're like, oh, I want to, I'm buying flights and it's very expensive, more than it should be, and I'm like, dude, and like everyone's going to be just if you want to go,
Exactly.
that's it, that's it.
Such a good point, man. Such a good point, right? Is it literally 50 years from now we'll all be dust, And unless they
That's
create
exactly
some
right.
amazing technology, immortality, which they're looking into, but for the most part, we're gonna die. So it's like you think about every single day spent in worrying and suffering. It's crazy. And I just thought about this viral video that's been making around. Shout out to Pat Pilla for forwarding it to me. But there was this woman named Claire, and she's this 18-year-old woman who recently passed away because she had this chronic illness. You must have
Oh,
seen the
I saw
video.
that.
Yeah,
That chick is amazing. She is amazing.
She is amazing. And I think we could all watch that and find this immense level of gratitude for her passing away. But like, she had a very short life, 18 years with a baby, but those 18 years would live to the fullest, you know?
Mm.
Every moment was like joyful and happy. And it's like, holy shit, some people could live 80 years and they could live in suffering the whole time, wishing they were farther along, wanting what they don't have.
Yeah, did you see that video on YouTube how she went and saw Bernie Sanders at one of his rallies or something?
No, I did not see that.
Yeah, she like snuck out of the hospital and she like dodged all these doctors, even though she was on like, you know, the high watch critical list, and just went out and
Wow.
did what she want. Yeah, did what she wanted to do for a day just because she knew she was going to die within a few months, and she's just like, stuff it, I don't care, I'm just going to go get it done.
Wow. That's amazing. That's amazing courage. Cool,
Yeah,
cool. Well, hey,
cool, man.
well, hey,
It was
thanks for joining me again.
good chatting to you, bro, and I'm sure we'll catch up soon.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Have a good night. Thanks for your insight, my man. Paul Mooney says, if you believe in the doubts in your mind, you won't achieve the dreams in your heart. Woo! Damn, Paul's dropping gems in this. My man Lou Ashley says, start with little goals that set the momentum and inertia. That move to bigger ones with inertia, momentum, with the confidence, making them victory inevitable. Yes, like we said, action alleviates anxiety, but I think the biggest point of this, and I'm going to start heading to the gym, pre-workout starting to kick in, but overthinking is a waste of life. At the end of the day, when you do think about it, it literally kills you. We're talking about this woman named Claire who died at the age of 18, but she lived those 18 years to the fullest, loving every moment. And, you know, I'm guilty of it myself because I stress out. When you're an achiever, you're thinking about the goals, the future, right? For all this work I'm doing, I should be making more money. I should be a lot farther along in your business, in your fitness, in your relationships. You know, I just celebrated a birthday. When I was a little boy, I said, by that age, I'm going to be married with kids. I'm going to have a family. I'm a single guy, you know, live by myself in this house. So I don't have that, right? But it's like the achiever mindset of the grass is always greener. So everyone has something that they want. You want what you can't have, right? So the person who's married with kids, they're looking at my life, man, if I was like a young bachelor right now, I'd be so much happier. I have like married guy friends that always joke around, say, hey, don't get married, don't have kids, you know, but I want a family and I want to have kids, but I can't stress myself that I'm not there, right? The person who has this $1 million business, they're stressed out about shit that you can't even think about. You know what I mean? The person who's struggling financially, they want to be wealthy, but the grass is not always greener, right? Because it's really just being a place of gratitude and appreciation for where you are right now. Self-comparison is the thief of joy. Social media is the biggest killer and why we overthink, right? Because we could be down in the dumps about our business and someone else is killing it. They're saying, oh my God, it's my best year of business ever. And I'm celebrating by getting this brand new Ferrari. And you're like, damn, I'm driving a Honda Civic. I'm not living my life to the fullest level. I'm not successful because your identity is based on someone else's win, but you don't understand what journey that they're on. You know what I mean? Everyone isn't on their journey. And at the end of the day, you are exactly where you need to be. There was a great quote about 9/11, which was 2 days ago. And in a very sad, unfortunate way, you know, close to 3,000 people were inside that building or on the plane and the Pentagon, and they passed away. But at the end of the day, it's like, you're exactly where you need to be, right? If you were in that situation, you would have been dead. But trust where you are right now because you're alive and you're healthy and you're just in a place where all these possibilities exist. So I'm going to go start my workout. And if you're watching this right now, let me know where you're watching this from. Let me know a strategy for overthinking. And since we're talking about the subject of gratitude, it always goes there. What is one thing you're grateful for right now? Coley says, if you're following your heart, trust that you're exactly where you're supposed to be. Absolutely, absolutely. So, hey, what I'm grateful for right now at this moment, I'm grateful for you, for watching me, for being on this live. This feels phenomenal. I'm going to have a great, great Thursday. Nice workout. I'm going to train legs, even though it's my least favorite body part. Got to do what you got to do. Can't have stick legs, but let me go do that. And also, I got a bunch of seminars. Like every single weekend, I'm actually speaking. So this Saturday, if you're a female and you're in New York, come to my female entrepreneur seminar. It's free of charge, hosting my living room. I have room for one more woman. If you identify as a woman, that's cool too. And 1 month from now, in Queens, New York, I'm hosting my 2-day online supercoach seminar. This is my flagship event. I do this twice a year. It's going to be phenomenal. So it's really just 2 days of building your dream online business, attracting your ideal clients, selling your services at a high level, but most certainly teaching and serving through technology. So I'll check you later. Lou, Angelica, Claudia, Ken, Jermaine, everyone who's on here. I love you and I appreciate you. Please, please, please. Less overthinking, more presence, less suffering, more service. Love you.